Well, it is March, and guess what? That is puppy season. And if you are wanting to add a furry friend to your home, there are some really, really good tips that you should know. Catherine Newman, of course, from Augusta Dog Training is back with us. We love that when you come on because you really open our eyes to so many things that are so important, because this is not just a dog, it is part of the family. Yeah. And so let's say you lost your dog, or your family is looking to have a new dog, you never had a dog before. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk through what are the things you have to think about when you're going to add a dog to the house, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's start with, you really, really need to do some research, right?
Yes.
Do some research.
Correct. And you really need to sit down with yourself and your family and take a look at your lifestyle. Take a look at what resources you have available for a dog. So for example, the size, the temperament, the grooming. Do you live in a multi-unit housing complex where barking is going to cause an issue with the neighbors? So you really want to do your research and make sure that you get a breed of dog that matches your lifestyle.
Yeah, because if you have some sort of a gut check thing where you go ahead and just get something and you don't think about it, it really could be a problem. Here we're noticing that you're doing some research about breeds.
Correct.
And then the breeder, but let's talk about breeds
yes.
first of all.
So first of all, there's a lot of online resources, and we get asked this all the time. Catherine, I'm interested in getting a puppy. What do we do first? And first is do your research. So if you go to the AKC website, it shows all of the different breeds, and it gives a lot of their characteristics. And aesthetics are important as well. Do you want a fluffy dog? Do you want a dog with less maintenance in their coat? So it gives you a really broad overview of the different breeds.
And hyperallergenic is a big thing.
Absolutely.
And then you have to figure out, like, what is the temperament? Like, do you want to go on a 4-mile walk every single day because that dog needs it? Or can that dog not go on a 4-mile walk and be okay?
Correct.
And do you have time for that because both your kids are in hockey?
Yes.
I mean, you really have to think about all of those things along with the size. And you know what? I feel bad that we didn't even introduce the puppy. So who is this?
This is little Rhodey, and he is an 11-month-old Havanese. So he's Havanese are one of the few true hypoallergenic breeds out there, along with poodles and Bichons. So he is just a lovely, lovely little guy. He's one of my favorites. Yeah.
So one of your other things you could do is, along with the research and talking to your family and figuring out your life, go to dog shows.
Absolutely, because you get to see doggies in the flesh, but more importantly, you get to talk to handlers and breeders and people who are fanciers of specific breeds. So you might have this idea in your mind that this is what living with a Berner is like, or this is what living with a Golden or Havanese is like. But then when you get to the dog show and you meet them and you talk to the breeders, you know, a breeder of an Akita might say, you know what, this is not a great fit if you're living in an apartment house for a guarding breed.
Yeah, because we're talking all shapes and sizes, as you note here. All right, let's talk about these designer breeds that are really popular. There's a number of them. We don't need to name all of them. But why do you have to be kind of careful with the designer breeds? Like we're talking, you know, the Golden Doodles and this doodle and that doodle and all these ones that are coming to the limelight here.
Ultimately, two things: predictability and temperament and size, and then overall health. When you purchase a purebred dog, what you are really purchasing is predictability. When you got your Bernese Mountain Dogs, you knew they were going to be of certain size, a certain temperament, a certain activity level. And my day is filled with training clients where, gosh, their doggie turned out to be a lot bigger or a lot more energetic than what they were really, really anticipating. And then also just health. The commitment that pure breed breeders have to the health of their dogs is outstanding.
And that's what you can find out from those papers, from the breeders. And I know every time I was about to get a new Bernese, I would call you. You were so sweet. You looked at the breeder. You said yes or no. And because there's certain diseases that go with breeds that are they lend themselves to those diseases sometimes, or those diseases come up. So you have to figure out, like, okay, what's going on with this breeder?
Correct.
Right.
And there's actually a website, the OFA. If you go to that website, it's a kind of a clearinghouse or a database of clearances, so you can take a look at your puppy's ancestors and make sure that they have their clearances.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes.
Okay, we have all of this information on the website, so people can give you a call, look at your website, look at everything, and then do your homework, because you know what? It's a big thing. You're going to have it for hopefully 10 years or more, depending on the breed, of course. That's another thing to think about. So it isn't something that you can just make a decision.
Correct.
Be smart, because it's wonderful. All right, for more on Catherine's tips and info on Augusta dog training, go to our show page on care11.com and you'll see a link to her website. We'll be right back.